see why we're so proud of Mike and the job that he does. He brings it all to the table, and he's that way in any emergency situation. So we are very lucky in North Carolina to have him. I can say that the North Carolina Fire Service was very busy this past fall with response to Matthew. You saw helicopters lifting feed to animals, but we also lifted pumps, generators, whatever we needed to do, and Fire Service was right in there doing everything that they could do to help people. And then the wildfire started. This was 3 days after the state fair when they started. So I've got with me today Kevin Harvell, who is director of the Forest Service Piedmont Division. He manages field operations for the 41 counties in central North Carolina, and he's been with the Forest Service since 1996. He is one of the many professionals that we have in the Forest Service, and I can't thank them enough for what they've done. But Kevin, I hope you'll tell them a little bit about what it was like and being deployed for this length of time. And I can tell you from my experience, I saw my folks up there in the beginning, and I would go back and their eyes were a little bit glassier, and by the end of the 21 days that they had been, I mean, you could tell they had left it all out there, and they really had to have some relief. So Kevin, thank you for what y'all did, and hopefully you can let these people understand what it's like.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just take a few moments to kind of show you guys an overview of what the Western fire season was like, and then the last few slides I'll kind of drill it down to my personal experiences on the fire. Okay, again, I'm Kevin Harvell. I'm the Piedmont Division Director for the North Carolina Forest Service. A good overview of what set the stage for our fires. And I like to think of it as kind of, imagine US 1 is the line. Everything east of US 1 was essentially impacted by Hurricane Matthew and received more water than they needed. Everything pretty much west of US 1 didn't get enough. So the western counties of North Carolina, the 5 westernmost counties were in exceptional drought. An additional 10 counties were in extreme drought. 8 more were in severe drought. And then several other counties were either abnormal or in moderate drought. So while the eastern part was too wet, the western part was too dry. In response to that, the North Carolina Forest Service and the Commissioner enacted open burning bans for open fires. So on November the 7th, we had the first burning ban issued, followed up on November 21st with additional 22 counties in burning bans. So we weren't alone. The U.S. Forest Service and our volunteer fire departments, emergency management, all of these agencies were helping us, but there were several fires that were essentially on U.S. Forest Service lands or were joint fires, and up on the screen is just a few of those, and I'm not going to go into too much detail right now. Mr. Thornhill will probably cover some of those later. There were 4 fires that were directly impacted or impacting the North Carolina Forest Service on state protected lands. The top 2, Party Rock, we've already heard about in Lake Lure, was a little over 7,000 acres and really impacted the communities of Lake Lure, Chimney Rock, and Bat Cave. The Chestnut Knob fire was on game lands and state park lands, so it was a little more remote, not as many homes or people impacted, but another 6,500 acres or so. While we were dealing with all of this, there were 2 fires that 2 other states were trying to give us. I guess they thought we needed a little more fire in North Carolina, so South Carolina was trying to give us the Pinnacle Mountain Fire, which was 10,000 acres, and did eventually burn into North Carolina for about 250 acres or so. And then Georgia had the Rock Mountain Fire, which was almost 25,000 acres. And that fire did eventually burn in North Carolina as well for about 2,000 or 3,000 acres. So help came from across the nation. As everybody said, we can't do it alone. We called on our friends with emergency management, with volunteer fire departments, but eventually we had to reach out for additional help. 40 states responded to the call with 2,500 to 3,000 personnel coming in from those states, of course as far away as Alaska and just about everything in between. In addition to those states responding, just about every federal agency that has anything to do with emergency management assistance or wildfire also responded. What could have been? It's been mentioned several times we didn't lose any homes, but our neighbor to the west did with the Chimney 2 fire. And the one thing I want to stress here is we could have been there. It was very easy. We had several wind events, not necessarily as strong as this wind event that impacted Gatlinburg, but our fires could have impacted homes. They were impacting homes. We had folks that were evacuated. We had companion animals that folks wouldn't leave, so we had to deal with concerns there. But just what could have been, we got very lucky. The cost of the wildfires, more than $51 million was spent on the wildfires. Of that, the state's responsibility was about $23 million. So kind of drilling down to my personal experiences, I was an incident commander with the Red Team, the Southern Area Red Team, managing several large fires. The Boteler and Nantahala fires were in Macon, Clay, Swain, and Jackson counties in western North Carolina, with the largest fires being the Boteler fire, which was over 9,000 acres. Additionally, the Tellico fire was 13,000 and some change. Those fires were managed jointly by the North Carolina Forest Service and the U.S. Forest Service. And along with the large fires, we had any initial attack fire that was in those counties. So almost daily we were having new fire starts and eventually ended up with over 21 named fires that we were managing in addition to the 2 large fires. And most of the fires that we were picking up were all human caused, and several of those were suspected arson sets. So the equipment and resources, just this one incident management team had all this stuff. We had 6 helicopters, 3 of which were Type 1, the big helicopters that you see with the snorkels on the end. We had those type of helicopters, or the large buckets that are getting water from lakes and rivers and that sort of thing. We had 2 fixed wing air attack platforms, which are the spotter planes that circle overhead to make sure that all the aircraft don't run into each other. We had large air tankers, as you can see in the picture on the right, that would come in and support when we really needed help and the fires were getting close to the homes. We had 25 hand crews. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but there's 20 people on each hand crew. So 500 people that were digging those lines, raking leaves, and a southern tool that we use that folks don't use out west that we had to introduce a lot of crews to was a leaf blower. This time of year when the leaves are coming off, a leaf blower is a firefighter's best friend. And if you put a man with a leaf blower out in front, it really speeds up progress, and we were able to make good time. In addition, we had 16 bulldozers. And it takes a special individual to sit in the cab of a Caterpillar D5 and look off the edge of a cliff and decide whether he's going to go down or not. But we had folks that were more than willing to do that and use their equipment to cut fire lines for us. 63 engines for a total of 900 firefighters just on this one kind of group of incidents that we had. All of that was managed by one Type 1 incident management team of about 60 people. So a lot of resources, a lot of moving parts. We had successes. No homes lost. That's the most important thing. We protected firefighter safety, we protected public safety, and we protected private property. On my incidents, we had no serious injuries to the public or firefighters, but we did have what's called camp crud. We had flu, bronchitis, pneumonia, all of that type of stuff. When you get 900 people living in such close quarters together, some of those things start spreading around. So we did have some of those issues. We integrated local emergency management into our war room. Mike's guys were sitting in the room with my operations folks. So when forestry was asking for houses to be evacuated, it was a seamless transition to emergency management to send the call out so folks got out of harm's way. We integrated the Hart helicopter, a National Guard ship that comes in, and thankfully we didn't have to use it. But that ship is able to use long line rescue to extract firefighters in case they get injured on the line way out in the wilderness. So we had that helicopter on site, and thankfully we didn't have to use it. Can't say enough about the Baptist men. It's hard to find restaurants to feed 900 firefighters in Hayesville. It's hard to find restaurants to feed 90 people in Hayesville, but the Baptist men stepped up in Hayesville and Franklin for us and really provided support that we needed. We had the local health department set up in a trailer in the ICP, so that's kind of the bottom right-hand picture. We had the camp crew, we had pneumonia, we had all of this stuff, so the health department was there treating the firefighters on scene. And finally, the community meetings. Information flow is the most critical thing to any incident management success, especially on the fire side. The public wants to know what's going on. And I was introduced to something new. I'm a forester. I like being out in the woods with the trees, but I was Facebook Live. And so I'm giving a public meeting in front of 20 or 30 people, and my information officer in the back is saying, we have a Facebook Live question, and there's 3,000 people watching you live on Facebook. So I learned a new tool, and it's something that I'm carrying forward that can help get the word out in wildfires and any natural disaster. So I think I went quick. I hope I caught us up on time. If there's any questions, I don't know if we're going to do that at the end or if take them now. Thank you.
I think you can see why I'm so proud of the Forest Service and the work that they do, and all the people in the Department of Agriculture. And quite frankly, you find out a lot about people when you put them under these types of stresses, and they performed unbelievably well. So I'm very, very proud of them.